brews, and banter.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Roman. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hello, Nicole.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
I'm Nicole Lawrence. I'm a therapist with Illuminate Counseling Creative Arts Therapy right here in Baldwinsville. I have to read a disclaimer.
Yeah.
So this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. This does not take the place of seeing a trained mental health professional. None of the information provided is a substitute for professional mental health diagnosis or treatment. If anyone is thinking about seeking mental health care, Psychology Today is a great resource to find a licensed professional in your area.
And we encourage you to do so, Roman.
I know. Every time I meet with you, I need a therapy.
After we're done, right? So, but thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Nicole,
Thanks
so
for having
welcome.
me.
We share a mutual friend in Coach Bruce.
Yes,
So he had
absolutely.
mentioned that. So I know that it's sometimes difficult for people that maybe don't do this a lot to, for a comfort level, but we're idiots. So you're better than us.
Well, I'm in
Just
good
know
company.
that. But
And I keep getting messages. Sometimes when we have guests, we forget to mention what beer we're drinking. And they're like, what were you guys having that day? So
You want to
we are having,
ooh, look at the marketing.
face
That's
it?
perfect, man.
we're having Jack's Abbey Craft Lager. It's a blood orange wheat. And what's the ABV on this?
It's that one, Roman.
6.5?
No, that's what I thought. Yeah. No, it's that. I don't know.
It's not?
I don't know. Something like that.
It's good for you. Just have it.
It is, yeah. It's right here. 4%, right? Is that what this is?
Yeah, 4%.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is like,
That's
you could have
nothing.
like 10 of these and still drive.
There you go.
This is just a warm up.
Yeah, this is like appetizer beer. But I know we've had lots of these, craft beers and these blood orange. I know you mentioned Lunkenheimer, and
Yeah.
I mean you can see our so we used to have a beer vault that was an actual refrigerator. It was just a beer vault, but it was much bigger. So now we get stuck cycling through that because it's much smaller.
Downgraded to the mini fridge.
Well, it'll go through quicker, but then we got to buy more often.
Is that a problem or is that like a perk?
It's an inconvenience. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It could
So-
also be a benefit.
Let's cheers, Roman.
Well, cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
That is blood orange. Mm-hmm. That's good.
So, Nicole, you originally from Baldwinsville?
I am. Yep. I'm originally from Baldwinsville. I graduated in 2005 and went to SUNY Oneonta for my undergraduate and then went to Nazareth College for my graduate work.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yep. So I've been in the profession and working in mental health since 2011 and just opened my own private practice in like October, November of this past in 2024.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So still a rookie.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about your company name?
Yeah. Illuminate Counseling Creative Arts Therapy. And that is not my first choice or my second, but New York State insisted that that's what it would be. So they insist that you have to have creative arts therapy as part of your title.
So that's LCAT?
Yeah,
Okay.
very good. Yes, licensed creative art
Huh?
therapist.
Very good, Roman. Yeah.
I'm impressed, really. And they said that I couldn't have the title illuminated because I was misrepresenting myself because I'm not illuminated. Yes.
That's
So
good to know.
it is, yeah. So they pretty much told me this is what your title needs to be, and that's fine. I don't really adhere to creative arts therapy as much anymore, not since only a few years out of graduate school. But licensed creative arts therapist, it's like you're trained just as any other therapist would be. And then on top of it, you have like creativity that you can use to kind of like bridge nonverbal individuals. And a lot of times younger kids really respond well to the like, creative piece of it. But mostly, I do mostly like talk therapy. And my passion is like growth and building capacity because I believe that the mental health field and the world that we live in right now is a lot of we do a lot of coping and a lot of like, I call it like cope and hope. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I just hope we get through it. Whereas I really think that we should be pushing more to make people feel like it's okay to not feel good. And it's okay to be uncomfortable and have uncomfortable feelings. And then you work through that. And that's growth. So instead of saying, oh, I'm uncomfortable or I'm anxious, so I can't do this. No, you should continue to do it. And then you should prove to yourself, like, look what I could do. And I've built that capacity. and I can do more from here.
Sure.
Mm.
And so you're open to all ages and
I try and keep it like 13 and above. I've worked with kids almost my entire career, but switching over to private practice, I've more wanted to get more towards working with adults.
okay.
Go ahead.
And you're local here in Baldwinsville now?
Yep, I'm on Downer Street. I think the address is
It's okay.
It's terrible.
That's okay.
It starts with 22 something.
2272.
There you go.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you for.
It's like, sounds like
It will be in the description.
It's actually in a chiropractor. So I'm up above a chiropractor on Downer Street, right next to the dollar store. So Aldi's, dollar store, chiropractor.
okay.
We've had several guests now who we've interviewed that transitioned from corporate to now self-employed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a emotional transition.
Is that where you're coming from? Were you in corporate before this?
Yep.
Okay.
So I worked with an agency. That my first job was called Whatever It Takes. The program was called Whatever It Takes, and I was a therapist in it, and it was in-home therapy. So kids, you know what residential treatment is?
Yeah.
So kids coming out of residential treatment early to come into our program, and then I would integrate them back into the community and back into their homes and back into the school districts. And so when they said Whatever It Takes, I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night in their homes, in their communities, in their schools, doing whatever it takes.
Right.
And then I got pregnant,
Yep.
and that was not conducive to
Yeah.
having a newborn.
Yeah.
So switched out of that, and I did compliance for mental health for a number of years. So I made sure that the agency I was working for was serving the individuals to like the highest quality, making sure that they got what they needed from our therapist. And then I decided I needed to get back into it. So I went into one of the hardest positions. I worked in a school, which is like an alternative school. It's called the day treatment, where kids go there specifically when they have a mental health diagnosis and they couldn't stick it out in general ed for a number of different reasons. It's really crisis heavy.
Yeah.
Running
So
out of the building.
Those kids, so that they're not, those people that you were treating then are not in a public school system?
So they come from their public home district and they're put into BOCES. And within the BOCES is called the day treatment. So it's typically 8 kids per classroom with a range of ages. The kids that I saw were, I believe, 9 to 11 was my classroom. My office was right integrated into the classroom. So I did daily group therapy, I did weekly individual therapy, and then I did a lot of crisis work, like take it out, like running out, like trying to beat them to the road.
Yeah.
That's serious training right there.
Yes.
I have a friend, he's a social studies teacher, and he taught at a school where when kids get kicked out of public school, this is your last chance.
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yes.
and that's it. And he was, there are times he's like, I'm a little concerned going to work today.
Yeah. So how
no
does that
joke.
work? I mean, for you or your friend, but how does it work for safety? Like, I mean, what are you allowed to do? Like, how do you protect yourself in the event that maybe you get someone who's
Yeah.
not the most savory individual?
What a nice way to put it.
I'm hungry.
So we relied heavily on the SRO. We had a really, really good SRO in the school, nicest guy. And so I would go to him a lot if something were happening, like he would come right and he would be in the office with me if it became that much of a safety issue. He would come into the office with me. He had a very cool, calm, presence, whereas sometimes I was like, oh, like what am I doing? And a lot of times, I did dodge a couple chairs. I've caught one before so they could throw it at somebody else. But I think the idea that I had was well, if I can get through this, then private practice, I'll be okay. I'll have a really good base to jump off from. But I remember specifically it was my birthday, and I'm not a person that likes to share that kind of stuff. And I especially don't like it to share it with the kids because sometimes it throws them off.
Right.
So I didn't tell anybody. And you're supposed to have a cell phone with you at all times. I left my cell phone on the desk, of course. And this one boy was having a hard time, and he took off from the classroom and went right out the front door, and I went after him, and I didn't have my cell phone with me. And the road that we were on is 45 miles an hour, and it's a passing lane. I mean, so like not safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was making a beeline for the road, and I was like, I looked at him, I go, I don't know what to do. So I just screamed at him, it's my birthday.
So that's your defense.
Yes. And that was enough to snap him out of it, to look at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, it really is. Would you know, like, don't throw yourself in front of a car on my birthday. You know, and
Wait, you used that yesterday.
right.
And then you tackle him down.
We don't tackle, we don't touch. I never touched,
Yeah.
you know, but that was enough to get him to spin around and like at least,
Sure.
you know, break the cycle. Whereas he was like, what? It's
Mhm.
birthday, you know, and he doesn't really care, but it was something different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
To
It
break him out of it.
triggered him to
Yeah.
pause.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
In your private practice, so someone's going to come. It's just you two.
Yep,
are you
just
are you
us.
worried about anything? I mean, maybe you don't have clients that are physically a danger.
Yeah.
But how would you sort of be able to protect yourself if
Yep.
that's the case?
No, that's a good question. And it's something that, you know, I think about. You know, if I'm going to meet somebody after hours, because I do evening hours
Okay.
a couple of nights a week, you know, I'll tell my husband, this is the time of the session. This is the time it's ending. I'm going to text you as soon as it's over. And then I'm going to call you when I get in my car.
That's good.
And that's what we do. You know, I turn on all the lights in the building and, you know, so the best that you can. But I think that there's a level of danger in everything that you do. So pick your, you know,
Right.
what you're afraid of and do your best
Yeah.
to not make yourself a victim.
One of my jobs is real estate agent.
Oh, gosh.
And I actually had a property that I was selling. And there was an agent who contacted me, and she wanted to come see the property. And it was late at night. And it was Skinny Atlas in the middle of nowhere, dark, no neighbors. I said, can you please bring someone with you?
Yeah.
Because it teaches her.
Sorry.
You okay?
It's like making every time I put my.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
You're,
what is that noise? I don't understand it. Sorry.
I said, this might teach her to be more conscious of situations like this. There's a lot of predators out there who you know, wait on dark times, and then like the sun goes down.
And not related to your industry. Anywhere you go.
Yeah, and,
Oh,
and
no,
they would
yes.
call a realtor and be like, yeah, I want to see this house. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like a predatory tactic. And so I wanted, for my safety, have someone with you, because I don't want something to happen and she says that I did something.
right.
You know?
Yep.
And
Well, then you just only got to protect yourself also.
what's that?
You only got to protect yourself also if she's got someone with her.
You only have to run faster than them.
Right. Or you could kick her and then just step over.
I'm okay with that. I think our listeners know that I have capability of defending myself. So, and it's also teaches a good practice that have someone with you. You're going somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It's dark out there. You're, you know, meeting another realtor you don't know, never met. It's good to, you know, have someone with you. And my other job is I'm a contractor. And I, you know, now I oversee projects instead of building and designing. But I had a client who is a psychiatrist, and his wife is a psychologist, and he had one more psychiatrist and another, so 2 and 2. And
That's a lot of ists there.
that's what it is. And they got the commercial space. They were starting their own practice, and I actually designed the layout for them, including their rooms, safety in consideration.
Oh, really?
So if there's an attacker, where should your desk be? Where is
Yes.
the door located? What floor are we on? Are there stairs? Where's the front desk? Like, all these things came into consideration, and that's how I designed. So I think in
That's
your
smart.
practice, kind of see, you don't want the door behind your patient.
Right.
You want the door either to be on the side of you,
Yep.
or behind you.
That's what. So my husband is was in the military, so he
Oh,
he
so he's
served.
tactically
So-
aware.
Okay,
So
good.
he helped me. You
So
know.
he's a savory individual. he is a
There you
savory.
So when we were setting up the room, he said, he goes, well, the door is here.
Yeah.
Where
Okay,
do you
good.
want your chair? Where do you want their chair? And I said, well, it's equally as important for the individual to have access to the door as it is for me, because you don't want someone feeling vulnerable and being like, hey, and shut the door on them and like, you're stuck now, but also the same thing. I want to be able to get to the door also, so there really has to be a
I'm
way to
surprised
figure it out.
Designed with 2 doors.
Well, if you have space.
One each way.
Right. Well,
It's got to exit somewhere,
This is a converted house,
Okay.
so it's really, it's
You get a trap door.
Yeah,
Just fucking boom.
oh my God, with a slide?
Like a fireman pole or something.
See ya.
Fine, yeah.
Kitties. Like a playground slide.
It makes a little noise.
We even went as far as having trash cans specific size so that they can kick the trash can to get in their way
Wow.
to slow them down extra 2 seconds.
Okay.
Or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
It's a distraction too. Like, it's my birthday. And they're like, what?
Right.
If you kick the trash can on your way out, they're like, distracted.
Right. It's something to at least like interrupt the system or the situation. Yeah. When I was going into houses, you would go into all these different places. We had a buddy system, so we would check in, check out. You'd have to text someone when you got there, and you need to text them when you're safe in your car. And they knew how long your session was, and so then they would, if you didn't check in, they were calling the police.
Yep.
Because you were going into the individual's home, and that's
You don't know.
there you go.
Yeah, you know. I mean,
You have no
aside from
idea.
their home, you don't know what's in their home.
Right.
You got the individual, but you don't know what you're,
Correct.
environmentally walking into.
Right, what you're stepping into. Yeah. I had an individual, I went to their home to do a home visit, and kids are excited. They're excited to show you their spaces. They're excited so that kind of stuff really doesn't faze them. So, and I really believe that most people are good. And so they don't see things from the same perspective as like me or you going into like these like, oh, this is your house. And so he goes, come on out to our garage. And I said, okay. And his dad's like, well, I converted the garage in the back if you want to look through there. And it had those beads hanging down. And I go, yep. And I was just like, great, that's great.
Yep.
It's a nice room.
Right. Yeah, you got to be able to discern what the
Right. I'm not stepping into your murder room. I'm not going
your
to do
lair. Right. Yeah.
That's good situation awareness.
Trying to be. Yeah.
And I'm going to do a quick ad, and then we'll be right back, okay? And I got some of the questions I want to ask. Are you hiding? You better be. Because with ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 plus job sites with just one click. Then their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job, better than anyone else. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike the job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you, it finds them. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get qualified candidates in just 24 hours. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today what ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, our listeners can post job on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/podcast. That's ZipRecruiter.com/podcast. And one more time, ZipRecruiter.com/podcast. Thank you. So Nicole, when you started in 2011, you said, did you primarily start with kids, or did you have adults as well?
So primarily with kids as the target individual, and then the families as well. So we would do individual care with the child, and then family therapy with them So if your child is taken out of the home and placed into a residential facility, they could be there for 6 months to a year. So life goes on, right, with them outside of the home. And it gets very, and you're removing something that I don't want to, not a disruption, but something that was, they identified as a problem. The child was having significant issues to the point where they were removed from the home. So this family unit then reconstructs itself without this child present. No matter if you're doing visits there or not, without living in the home with somebody, even when you go to live with somebody new, integrating them into your life is a difficult process. So creating the family unit without this identified individual and then having them come back in, there's a lot of animosity that comes with that. There's a lot of difficulties. There's a lot of blame that comes with that. And so trying to work that family out, because we call it recidivism. So the likelihood of them going back into care is really high for a period of time, like 6 months afterwards, because of that inability to reintegrate back into the school, where they're seen as a problem because they probably were an issue at the school, the home where they were seen as a problem, and the community because, they probably had run-ins with the police and all of those things. So we would do all of that work in order to help them be as successful as possible because, it's traumatic alone to be removed from your home and then to feel like a failure to then have it happen again. That's really difficult. So trying to make it successful and trying to help the family see that, like, nothing happens in a vacuum. When we say like the identified client or the child is the problem, really, where did it come from? Like as a family unit, how did you handle that? So as a family unit, you really all need to change to be able to reintegrate and be a success together, not just keep blaming, one person for something.
Mm-hmm.
So recidivism.
Yeah.
Right? After 6 months, is there a high likelihood that they don't return?
I don't have that.
Yeah,
information.
I don't know what you've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the longer that they like stay, if they're seeing success with anyone that you see success, I believe that you want more. So if I'm successful at something, then it makes me want to try harder. If I'm not successful at it, then screw it. Why am I going to hang out here and keep doing something that doesn't
where's the
feel
motivation?
good? Right.
Yeah.
So I think that like that builds.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more that you can help people to see at something as a success, even if it's small, point it out to them because people are really discount small things. Okay. Well, it's not big enough. And, it's not meaningful. But when someone else points it out to them and like, oh, well, I can see it as a success. I think that helps highlight it for people. And like, okay, so now we can build from here. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. It can be a small stepping stone.
In most cases, it probably is, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes smaller things have bigger effects.
Sometimes they do. Yeah.
Roman would know that. Sorry, I had.
This is what
it was right there, so you had to.
He cracks the door, but I just kick it right in.
he SWAT teams that. This is why I need therapy after.
Are you part of a program? I guess what you do, or what you did, or what you're going to do now. If there's people removed from a home, how's the family life work? I mean, a kid's removed from their parents, and they're living somewhere else. Do the parents get to see that child? Like, how's that all work? Or
so this is all like past, right? So I'm not doing this these days.
Okay.
But yes, that's part of it, and it really should be to go and visit.
Yeah.
They should. A lot of times, it's not an earned thing, to my knowledge, to have the family come to the child. It is usually an earned thing the child to go and stay at the home.
I see.
So they have to get like a certain level.
Like a reward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. By not, doing certain things, breaking rules at this place where, they've got all these workers and all these rules and it's very controlled, to then send them back into an environment that is so less controlled and then be like, see ya, and expect them to not lose it. Mm-hmm. That would be silly to set someone up for failure, in my opinion, and I believe their opinion too. So the family is allowed to come and visit, and they should. Mm-hmm. And they should engage in family therapy while the child is there in that controlled environment, in my opinion. But the family, they have a choice, like where you can't make someone do something. But to the highest level of success is when the family buys in as a unit.
Okay.
And so when you left that job, did you see more teenager, young adults?
Yep, I saw right around 13, 14 was the...
What year was that?
Oh, gosh. That had to be 2012, 13.
Okay. So I was trying to kind of narrow down with the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm kind of still seeing like a ripple effects.
Yeah. From
the pandemic. And I wanted to ask you if you've had... Would you call them patients or clients?
Call them clients.
Clients?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you have clients of young adult age, have you seen an effect from pandemic and how they're responding and reacting to this?
I think...
Today.
So it's my opinion, and I don't think it's just reserved for young adults. I think that, like, across the board, we're seeing individuals really get comfortable with being safe. You know, having to, like, and so I really cannot get behind this narrative in mental health when we talk about I have to protect my mental health. And I wonder, what are you protecting? Because mental health isn't something that should be protected. It's something that should be challenged. You know, if you want to talk about mental health as a muscle, that's how I view it. So if you go to the gym and you're picking up 5-pound weights and you're doing the reps, but it's not doing anything, right? Because it's not challenging to you. So you're going to pick up something heavy enough to make you make that ugly face, you know, when you're doing it. That's how you build muscle. It's the same thing that with your brain. You know, we call it neuroplasticity. It means that your brain can grow, but it also can shrink when it comes to these different things. So if you challenge yourself, then there's growth. So by doing something that makes you uncomfortable, like getting out of your comfort zone, going out and meeting new people, talking to people that challenge your view rather than people that just repeat the same thing that you do and never make you feel like you have to be able to manage yourself in uncomfortable positions, then you're not going to grow. You're going to either stay the same or you're going to shrink back. And that's what I've been seeing with mental health, and especially with anxiety, is people use it as a shield. I have anxiety, so I can't. But what you really should be saying is, I feel anxious, and so I don't want to. That makes me feel uncomfortable, or it's hard. And so I don't want to do this thing that makes me feel uncomfortable. But the reality of the situation is that, especially with anxiety and with most things, that discomfort is what helps you grow. And then you prove to yourself that you're fine. Yeah. And then you can do something even harder next time because you have the evidence from the previous time that said, like, yeah, I was uncomfortable and I didn't feel good in it, but look what I did and I'm fine and now I'm successful in this sense.
The reason why I used that age group is because